So imagine somebody who could understand what international events mean would see such an incident and they start to prepare in advance. Trust me, by the time they could have put a lockdown in Uganda, the first lockdown, that person wouldn't be surprised. Why? Because they're prepared for it.
Anyway, it's just, I think our thinking feels like we are far from the world. Maybe by the time it gets us, maybe by the time it gets to Uganda, it will have phased out. But then, you know, you have to keep in mind what affects others also affects us. You know, it was a contagious, was it disease or whatever virus it was. So definitely, anytime anyone would pop up with it, unless maybe it's like, or you know, maybe like sexually transmitted, whichever disease that is not contagious or it's not spread through communicable ways. That can at least be you can find means of, you know, finding a way of avoiding it. But there are some things affect, like, let's say, like we've been talking about Spotify. It started from there. It will soon affect us. So definitely we have to prepare for it. Netflix as well. So definitely, if we tell you something affecting these other people, no, anytime soon it will get to us. It may delay because, of course, it has to start with them. You cannot start up a global thing like out of the blue. It starts with a few population, then it spreads with time. So
absolutely,
get ready for many things.
Okay. And well, very many things which are coming up, and still on top of that, when we head into our morning call today, those part of the many things that you should actually be prepared for, of course, includes, you know, the government's plan to build houses for the people. But of course, before we head into that, it's a Monday, and remember, it's time to trade government bonds and securities. And definitely, Zabo just made this a reality for you. It's quite a fresh week, and the markets are back. The start 92 hash is simply the code for you, which will avail with options where you'll be in position to actually buy government bonds and securities for a fee of just 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now, the markets are going to be opening at exactly 8:15 a.m., running all the way to 3:15 p.m., and that is East African time. And of course, it's going to be running up to Friday, from today up to Friday, when these markets are going to be actually happening. So Zabo made this a reality for you. Of course, remember, on top of Start 92 hash, you have to register with your national identification number and also your national ID number at the same time. You know, your card number, rather, to register for these markets. Zabo made this a reality. It's the 21st century, and that's why it says, my money, my future. And all East Africa tells you, do something new for yourself. Remember, it is 2023, and we got to do things much more different than before. Well, now, at this point in time, as we're heading into our morning call today, of course, government plans to build houses for the people. And, you know, people shall be having some sort of mortgaging. I mean, you pay houses. You pay a house over a period of time to own it.
Yes.
You know, but the ultimate question is that as a country, are we ready for this? You know, and that is something that we need really to look into. But I believe it's quite something which some majority of the people welcomed as a result of that, because if you get to understand that some of the people that are actually going to be benefiting from these houses, they're going to be largely, you know, like I was having a conversation with someone else telling me, I mean, there is no way, because for you to be trusted with this house, at least you need to have a valid contract with the company that you work for. You know, that is something key. Yeah.
At the end of the month, they can remove some portion
from you, and it will also come to some extent that you need to be earning a certain amount of money.
Wow. You
know, for you to be able to, you know, cash up to that, because I believe you see, like it's like the houses that NSF constructed, majority of them were quite, you know, if you look at the classes of people that inhabit them, it was really way high class. But also remember, there were some houses which were launched, I think, in Mutundwe, by the Buganda Kingdom, by the Katikkiro of Buganda. Still, you could find that these houses were running to about $10,000. I mean, talking about $10,000, that's approximately $45 million and above. So how many kinds of Ugandans can actually afford to live in such houses? You know, that's also another question to ask yourself as a result of that. And we also had incidences, there are ones in Sentema, you know, also being put under construction and all that. and also these ones which are under, which is government plans to really put it out there. So, are you okay with this? But also the key factor that I believe is the sustainability factor. That despite the fact that we actually get into this, how sustainable can this be?
Well, I think it could be a great idea. Why? Because you get to pay for this mortgage slowly by slowly, not with this thing of where we used to buying and you get your whole cash. If it's 100 million, you pay at once. So this maybe at the end of the month you could pay 200 or 300,000. Okay, that's like you've been paying rent until you can finish the mortgage. But of course, it being going to be a new thing in Uganda. And people may be a little bit hesitant because they'll be like, oh, if it was the rich, where are we going to get the money at the end of the day? But then, it's actually better. For people, some people, it's better than building a house because it takes a longer time, the finishing and everything like that. So they were like, let's buy a house and pay mortgage. At the end of whatever years we finish them. So for some people, it will be an advantage. For other people, it's going to be troubling for them. Troubling for them. But of course, I feel like they're targeting maybe the medium. I don't know. Do we have a middle class? Middle class kind of people. Yes, you could afford it as well. You could afford it as well. So definitely, whoever earns, I don't know, whichever amount of money they'll be requesting for, I'm just praying it doesn't be overwhelming for some people. They should be considered that. But of course, this was suggested actually. The project is set to cover 350 billion Ugandan shillings, and of course, it will have 210,000 units. Wow.
210,000. 200.
Yes.
And 10,000 units. That's
a lot. That's a lot of houses.
Those are the number of houses.
I don't know now the rooms, how big they're going to be or how many rooms they're going to be. Are they going to be double or are they going to be maybe a full house, 2 bedrooms and, whatever it is. It also depends. For Ugandans, they'll be like, if this is the house I'm going to stay in for a long time, then I have to make sure it's a big house that accommodates my kids that I'm going to have or the kids already have. So imagine you're building houses that have 2 bedrooms and they have like...
How can somebody have a family in that house?
A big, huge family.
Because as you grow from being 2 people, you add on somebody, 2 people, 3. And sometimes, with that kind of a house, it's hard to establish independence.
Anyway, I think maybe it's going to be for the families that have a well plan on how they're going to, the children, if they're having 2 or 3 or 1, it could be easier for them. But anyway, I'm seeing here actually it was a report in May, actually that is when the Minister of Housing, Land, Judith Nabakova actually suggested this, and they were planning to build these low-cost houses for Ugandans, low cost. I don't know how low that is. I don't know how low or affordable that price is gonna be. But of course, they said, like I said, this budget allocation includes 880 billion for capitalization of the National Housing and Construction Company Limited. I think they're going to be taking over, and of course, these low houses aim to address the housing deficit currently plaguing the country with a staggering 2.4 million housing units required. Now, among this deficit, 210,000, like I told you, are needed in urban areas, while 1.394 million units are needed in rural areas. Rural areas.
1.39.
Yeah, that means for those that are living in urban areas are going to be fewer. Now in our homes, they're there.
Rural areas. But of course, you see also the cities so much of a congestion of late. So we need to start to think of, and remember, development starts from the city and it's being spread from the suburbs in that way. So I believe if we can establish, affordable houses towards the suburbs of town, we shall attract even settlement. And when we have even distribution of the people, that means also economic prosperity.
But
so
you
it can be easy to stop because every person is bringing the money they say. But now there are people out there. COVID-19 local suburb shops made quite lots of money. Till today, actually, you find that some of these big shops, the supermarkets, lost customers because now people got used to, and also these people shops. Exactly, and also the people that were owning these shops, their eyes opened up that actually they can get the services nearer to the people, and like that way.
I remember there's a shop that opened up nearby home. It made money because everyone in your 90s, whether you rushed or not, you just be like, oh, let me go at his near. I don't need. You had lots of things available there. And I'm saying here, actually, for the amount, with a medium income of 220,000 per month for urban residents and 168,000. For rural residents, the majority of Ugandans, 76%, can only afford houses ranging from 12 to 24 million shillings. So that means a person in a month, for those staying in urban areas, there will be 220,000.
220,000.
Those in rural areas, 100. It's okay. Don't you find it a bit...
All right, it's exactly 15 minutes past 7, and now at this point in time, let's take a look at what's happening into the press. We have the East African, the New Vision, and the Daily Monitor. But of course, just to kick start off briefly, what's happening to the Daily Monitor there?
The Daily Monitor, quite a headline right here, inside the fight at Bank of Uganda. Now, an infighting at the central bank over a pending restructuring and overhaul of the system has snowballed into a fully fledged battle, promoting a group of staff to petition President Museveni, but acting governor, who is in the eye of the storm, said the process was on hold because the board was looking into the case. So there was a battle in between the Bank of Uganda. And of course, on page 6, you can get to know how the ex-UNBS boss walked into the sack. And of course, government clears operations of new cancer center in the north. And of course, for the Catholics, Ruwero Kansanga Diocese got our bishop, and it happened this weekend. And you can get more of this information. And of course, reaching the regional parts, why Mumbere team wants 9 billion Ugandan shillings for FETE, and of course government starts repair of Tororo Gulu Railway.
Okay, now to kickstart off here with the East African, we see that Kenya and Uganda seek $6 billion, that is dollars, to put standard gauge railway line on track. Now, of course, we said the two partners have abandoned the original sponsor, China, and are talking to European and Gulf lenders. That is targeting to take the line all the way to the Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, and Juba at the same time. Now, of course, we also see why the African Union wants its own credit ratings agency. Now, it says that the big three, Fitch, and that is Moody's and S&P, are unfair in downgrading the countries, and also great fears for the missing girls, women and girls in Sudan. Of course, fighters have been kidnapping women and enslaving them, and even killing some of them. Now, of course, still in further. Okay, now if I switch over to the New Vision to take a look, of course, municipalities to get 2.7 trillion Ugandan shillings. Now, of course, government has issued a list of infrastructure projects, beneficiaries at the same time. And now, of course, we see bank speaks as, of course, regardless of, this is Stanbic Bank, our systems were not hacked. Stanbic clarifies on SIM card theft. Well, and of course, today in our topic of discussion, we're going to be really pointing out into that. Of course, with a crisis of the rising crisis when it comes to people's confidence towards the banking systems, such cases are really quite a big issue. Now, of course, why the UN Rights Office is leaving Uganda. What does that mean? And of course, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights over the weekend ended all its activities in Uganda. Okay. Now, of course, fresh road exposed in district land boards, fresh loads. Those are, of course, details on page 7 of the New Vision, as you'll be finding out more of that. Now, of course, still the amazing image here in the top, as the she cranes are the number 1 in Africa, 5th in the round of that. So we find out exactly. Okay, of course, further in here, as we take a look at the East African, this is something to do with over a new study rings alarms bells over wetlands distractions. That is on the east, on the ECOP route in Uganda. Of course, this is where the pipeline is going to be passing through, all the way from coming from Hoima, heading towards Tanga. As you can really see, wetlands distraction, environmental, matters to do with the environmental disruption that way. And what does that really mean in there? And of course, we see that delayed peace deal births tales of atrocities in Sudan.
Well, of course, have you heard of the story of a maid that was raped on gunpoint?
A what?
A maid.
A maid?
It's been trending on social media.
Oh, yeah.
A maid that was raped on gunpoint. And of course, I'm seeing here a file of a maid raped at gunpoint transferred. It was transferred to another regional police for better management and investigation. Imagine that. Imagine yourself being on gunpoint while dubious things are being done to you. And of course, Rotary launches youth employment campaign. And of course, here Justice Mutonyi tells magistrates to be vigilant about juvenile ages.
Okay. Now,
of course, here I'm seeing NEMA arrests 2 over wetland degradation. And of course, government clears operations of new cancer center. Right there, we are actually improving in our health system. And of course, IGG issues ultimatum for stalled roadworks. There's been a lot of talk, mostly in Western Uganda, on the shoddy work that has been happening, with road works, they're not complete, they were never started, they just pass through the tractors and the roads are still there. And mostly this company, Multiplex actually, Limited,
okay.
Ntungamo, Kabare and Barara, Kabare residents actually have been complaining more about the shoddy work of this multiplex company that was meant to construct a road worth 200 and something kilometers, and it hasn't been worked on. So what went wrong? When they paid right?
What went wrong?
What is always wrong? The question is, what is wrong? If the money was there, what could have been the reason?
What always goes wrong? Very ultimate questioning there. But of course, we see still President, actually, President Museveni met the former president of Kenya, that's Uhuru Kenyatta. That is over this weekend. And they had discussions in relation to peace in Democratic Republic of Congo. And this is part of the image you're seeing here into the New Vision, the peace process and that. Of course, still like we saw on the top page, Stanbic Bank speaks out on fraud. We see that actually the hackers that hacked into the banking systems were able to access, of course it's reported, they accessed 300 million Ugandan shillings as a result of that. But anyway, we shall be finding out what really moved in, as of course the customers and the clients, the ultimate thing that comes onto them is that is our money safe, and all that. Of course, we see something here to do with Bank of Uganda warns against the wild coin. Bank of Uganda has warned numbers of the public who were, of course, who were thronging wild coin outlets in different parts of Kampala in an effort to earn cash. And so, warning out there for you, don't, municipalities to get 2.7 trillion for roads. I think this was part of the top page. You'll still find out further details as you get. Now, government registers increase in vocation enrollment. Enrollment, when we talk about enrollment, vocational rather, we mean practical skills for the people, long gone for the theoretical education system where you don't possess a skill. You see, there is one thing, there is being qualified, there is getting a qualification, but there is getting a skill. So which is better than the two?
Getting a skill.
Actually, because even when we go to the countries that we look up to, they'll tell you what skill do you have, what can you do, not what qualifications do you have, how many PhDs do you have, and all that. So that is. Then President Museveni hails Catholic Church for good relations with government. Yeah. So what kind of relations has the Catholic Church really established with the government? But of course, also we see here in the interview section, Uganda to earn billions from coffee. That is Minister Chakulaga, according to what it says. Uganda to earn billions from coffee. And then government to support diaspora women to invest home. Diaspora women investing home. I mean, there are quite lots of men. America, Europe, Asia, so many other countries. But, when you make this money, sometimes you're thinking, how best can I put it into use, right? Okay.
And of course, you can get yourself a daily monitor. There are very interesting issues when it comes to health living. I'm seeing here DNA test, what you should know before you take a DNA test. Here you can see it through the heel of a child. There is the saliva samples. And of course, what you take in your mouth, actually, there is something. It's very, very interesting for ladies out there. Throat cancer is real, so definitely be mindful of what you take in, okay? Be mindful of what you take in. Get yourself a paper, daily monitor. You read much more of what I'm talking about, so be careful on what you take in, what you swallow, okay? For the lovers of Afrigo Band, they were celebrating 48 years. Afrigo Band, the band that made people shake live. I love live bands. There is a way it brings life to you. There is that natural, the natural aspect of it. You hear the voice, the shaking in the voice, the drums, the instruments. It's just beautiful. Very beautiful. If you want to get out of the noise of this modern amapiano and all whatever beats they're called, go to a band, go for there are live bands, for a person who loves quiet and easy.
Quiet environments.
Yeah, quiet environments. Of course, refugees find homes in the U.S. with food, gospel, and of course, very much more to get yourself a daily monitor and check out things related to schools, performance of Uganda Christian University, medical school, and of course, innovation club to boost students' employability. Youth are being actually engaged in most youth these days actually being engaged in these activities that can get them to have skills and improve themselves. And of course, looking at the international point, of course, Niger Ganta deadline sparks more anxiety. And of course, the AU mission sticks to Somalia exit plan. And of course, for those that love war and politics, Russian missiles hit blood transfusion center. Wow.
That's very upset. Well, that is it. It's 28 minutes past 7, and definitely come to the end of the press briefing in there, seeing what's happening onto there. But of course, still, I'd love to remind you that notice that the Market to Disable platform are going to be back. Today is a Monday, and for you to be a part of this, it's quite very simple. Start to 92# is the code for you there to avail without transfer. You'll be in position to buy government bonds or securities for a fee of just 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now, the markets are going to be opening at exactly 8:15 a.m., running all the way to 3:15 p.m. East African time. This is effective from today up to Friday, apart from the weekends and the public holidays when these markets cannot be accessed. But of course, despite that, you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make yourself quite some huge money, something which I believe is very key and instrumental when it comes to your financial development. But also remember, on top of star 292#, you have to register with your national identification number for you to proceed efficiently. And when you do that, the trading bonds and securities will be inevitable. That's why Zabo says, my money, my future, and Don't Exist Africa tells you, do something new for yourself. Remember, it is 2023. Smart Means Business takes a break, and definitely when we return, we have something from Caribbean East Africa, and of course international business related updates. More of that coming up after the break. Simply stick around.
Smart 24, driving business.